Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear participants. Welcome to this session of textual study of the Quran. Last week we had started to study the portion of Surah Baqarah, which is from verse 63, and we had ended on verse 82. There were some disruptions last week, and I know there were some questions that still need to be answered. Inshallah, we'll do that. But before we go on to that section of answering your questions, let me just do a word-to-word translation of the part that we have finished last week. And as I said, the purpose of this word-to-word translation is to make you accustomed with the Arabic language, the vocabulary as far as you can, so that you can make sense of the sentences in Arabic even without knowing the language's grammar. And this can be done precisely and in a way that can really be beneficial for you. If you note down the vocabulary, you'll find out that a lot of prepositions, a lot of verbs are repeated. Yes, there are some new words as well, but then because of this repetition, if you keep noting down these words, a time will come when it will become quite easy for you to understand directly from the Arabic text. So let us start off with this section. This starts off with verse 63. As I said, I'm going to start off with a literal translation. And this literal translation is going to be placed side by side with the actual translation. But I would suggest that you please concentrate on the Arabic text without having any recourse on the left part of your screen, which is a translation. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wa iz akhazna misakakum wa rafa'na fawqakum at-tur. Wa and is, remember or recall. Akhazna, we took. Mithaqakum, covenant from you, or your covenant. Wa and rafa'na, we lifted. Fawqakum, fawq is above and kum is you. So kum is a pronoun that you can see. It occurs frequently for the plural addressee in front of you. So misakakum and fawqakum, the ending of kum at the end of both these words refers to a plural of people in front of you. So misakakum would mean your covenant, and fawqakum would mean above you. So fawqa is above, misak is covenant, kum is you all. Rafa'na is, rafa actually means to lift, and rafa'na would mean we lifted. So the Almighty is saying that we lifted. And at-tur, it's Mount Sinai. So fluent translation would be that, and recall when we took your covenant and raised above you Mount Sinai. So, of course, the understanding would be the covenant that was made with you. So, is akhazna misakakum literally means recall our covenant with you, which means the covenant that we made with you. So, this is the Almighty talking to the Israelites and telling them that recall the covenant that we made with you. And what was that covenant? Khuzu ma ataynakum bi quwwatin wazkuru ma fihi la'allakum tattaqun. Khuzu, hold fast, grasp strongly, grip strongly. Ma, what? Ataynakum, we give you. This kum is the same as occurred in misakakum, fawqakum, and it comes for the plural addressee. Bi quwwa is with force. Be is with, quwwa is force. Wa and uzkuru, remember or recall. Ma, that, fi, in, he, it, la'alla, so that, kum, you. The kum is again the same as ataynakum, fawqakum, misakakum. You see how much repeated this word is. La'allakum tattaqun. Tattaqun means so that you secure yourselves. So a fluent translation would be hold or grip strongly what we gave to you with power, and remember what is in it so that you are secure, or of course mean secure from the wrath of God or from the punishment of God. So just make a note of the words khuzu ma ataynakum bi quwwatin, hold fast or grip strongly ma ataynakum, what we have given you, bi quwwa, with force. So bi quwwa actually is related to khuzu. the sense would be khuzu bi quwwatin, which means hold strongly. The strong, the meaning strong is incorporated by the word quwwa. وَاذْكُرُوا مَا فِيهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, and remember what is written in it. So the simple connotation would be that it was on the Mount of Sinai that this covenant was taken, and of course the Mount of Tur was lifted above them, and they were given the Torah, and they were told that they should grasp strongly whatever is written in it. Summa tawallaytum min ba'di zalik. Summa, it means after that. Tawallaytum, you turned away. Min ba'di, after. Zalika, that. So after that, you turned away. Fa, therefore, law, if, la, not. Fadl, blessing. Allah, God. Alaykum, upon you. Wa, and rahmatuhu, his mercy. Rahmah is mercy. Who is his? So his mercy. La, in fact, kuntum, you, minal khasirin, from among those who are losers. So khasirin is the plural of khasir. Khasir means a person who's lost his way, and minal khasirin would be among the losers. So a sequential translation would be, so therefore had not God's mercy or blessing be upon you, lawla fazlullahi alaykum, had not God's fazl, God's mercy been upon you, wa rahmatuhu, and his mercy. So his blessing and his mercy had not they embraced you, had not they got hold of you, lakuntum minal khasirin, you would have been among the losers. Wa, and laqad, indeed, alimtum, you knew, alladhina, those who i'tadaw minkum. I'tadaw means who crossed the limits. Minkum, from amongst you. Fi, in sabt is the Sabbath. Faqulna, so therefore we said. Fa is therefore, qulna, we said, lahum, to them. Kunu, become. Qiradatan, so qiradatan is monkey. Khasirin means detestable. So وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمُ الَّذِينَ اعْتَدَوْا مِنْكُمْ فِي السَّبْتِ, which would mean that you already know what happened to people who had crossed the limits amongst you regarding a sabt, regarding Sabbath. We have already discussed that, what it means. And when they did this, the Almighty said, فَقُلْنَا لَهُمْ كُونُوا قِرَةً خَاسِئِينَ, so therefore we said to them, become detestable monkeys. Therefore, جَعَلْنَاهَا, we made it. Nakal means an example. لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهَا, for those who were in front of it. Yaday means front. Ha, it. Wa, and ma, that. Khalf is behind. Ha, it. So actually the pronoun is referring to the city, which is not mentioned in words, but it is implied, because when the Almighty said that you become detestable apes or monkeys, of course it relates to the city in which this was happening. So the pronoun ha, which has come here, is referring to that city. So we made that city, though it's not mentioned in words, but because of the happening or the event that is noted down in the previous verse, the meaning would be, we made that city. Ja'alnaha, therefore we made that city, nakal, an example. Lima bayna yadayha, for those who were in front of it, and for those who were behind it, wama khalfa, which means people around that city, people in front and behind that city, living there, it became an example for them to learn a lesson from them. And maw'iza means advice. Lil muttaqeen, lil is for, muttaqeen, of course, the God-fearing, and it became advice for the God-fearing. I'm just going to finish off this literal translation, and then, of course, you can ask questions. And also, we have an unfinished agenda regarding one of the lessons prior to this one. Our technical team has reminded me that I missed out the translation of 3 verses from the previous lesson, so we'll also do that, and then you can ask your questions. So, وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُكُمْ أَن تَذْبَحُوا بَقَرَةً. Wa, and is, recall. Qala, said. Musa, Moses. Le is always something which occurs with qala. So qala le yaqulu lahu. You've all often seen that the preposition of the word or the verb qala is, it always comes with a lam. So it actually is waqala liqawmihi Musa. So qala said Moses lay to qawmihi. Qawm is his nation, he is his. So remember or recall when Moses said to his nation, what did he say? Inna Allaha ya'murukum an tazbahu baqarah. Inna is indeed, Allah is God. Ya'murukum, orders, ya'muru means he orders, kum, you, and that, tasbahu, you sacrifice, baqarah, a cow. So, وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ, recall when Moses said to his nation, and what did he say? Indeed, God orders you to slaughter or sacrifice the cow. Inna Allaha ya'murukum, indeed, God orders you, commands you to sacrifice a cow. Now, what is their reply? The قَالُوا أَتَتَّخِذُونَ هُزُوًا. قَالُوا means the nation. They replied, أَتَتَّخِذُونَ, do you hold us, هُزُوًا, in fun? Literally, this is how the meaning would go. Otherwise, the idiomatic meaning would be, are you joking with us? But the literal meaning would be, do you hold us in fun? And then Moses said, Qala a'udhu billahi an akuna min al-jahilin. Qala is of course Moses saying, Moses said, A'udhu, I seek refuge, billahi, of God, an, that, akuna, I become, minal, from, al-jahilin, overcome with emotions. So the word jahil, the plural is jahilin, is not always, it doesn't always come with the meaning of ignorance, as is the case with its Urdu connotation. In Arabic, the word jahl also refers to people who are overcome with emotions. So Moses is not telling them that I seek God's refuge from becoming an ignorant person. No, this is not what he's saying. He's saying that I seek refuge with God from becoming a person who is overcome by emotions. In reply to what you are trying to ignite in me, I seek refuge with God, and I'm not going to get angry with your words. So, a'udhu billahi, I seek with God, an akuna min al-jahilin, I seek refuge with God, an akuna min al-jahilin, that I become a person who is overcome with emotions. Qalu ud'u lana rabbaka yubayyin lana ma hi. Qalu, again, this is what their nation replied to Moses. Qalu, they said, ud'u lana, call for us, rabbaka, your Lord. Rabba is Lord, Ka is your. Yubayyin lana, make or explain lana, explain to us, mahi, what is she, what is that cow like? So qalu ud'u lana rabbaka yubayyin lana mahi would mean, they said to Moses, of course, ask your God, ud'u lana rabbaka, ask your God from us, that he should explain to us that what that cow should be like. Yubayyin lana mahi, explain lana to us, mahi, what is she? Qal innahu yaqulu innaha baqaratun la faridun wala biqr. Now Moses, of course, he would have conversed to God that Israelites are asking me to tell them the nature of that cow. So he must have conversed from God and then got his wahi, which says, innahu yaqul innaha baqaratun la faridun wala biqr. So qal is Moses. Moses says, innahu, indeed it, yaqul, and indeed he, indeed God, yaqul, he says that innaha, indeed that cow, innaha baqaratun, indeed that cow, la farid, not, farid means of old age, and bikr means young. So Moses is saying that God says that that cow should neither be old nor be young. La farid wala bikr. Farid is of old age, bikr is of young age. It should be. And as the words say, awanum bayna zalika. Awan means in between. Something in between. Bayna zalika. Between these two. Between these two extremes. It should neither be old and nor it should be young. Faf'alu ma tu'marun. Faf'alu means therefore do ma what tu'marun, you are being commanded. So the first question was answered by Moses, and he said, well, this is the question that you had asked, and I have brought that answer. Now please do what you have been asked. I mean, slightly anger on the part of Moses. But they went on, and they said, ud'u lana rabbaka yubayyin lana ma lawnuha. So remember, first they asked, what type of cow should that be? And God replied, well, it should neither be old nor young. Now, the next question they asked was, qalu, they said, ud'u, ask, lana, for us, rabbaka, your Lord, yubayyin lana, explain to us ma, what? Laun is color, ha is her. So please ask God for us that what should be the color of that cow. يبين لنا ما لونها. Laun is color, ha is hers. قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة صفراء فاقع لونها تسر الناظرين. So قال, Moses said, إنه يقول, indeed God, إنه, indeed God, يقول says, إنها, that cow, بقرة صفراء, should be of bright color. Safra is bright, golden. إنه بقرة صفراء فاقع لونها تسر الناظرين. And faqi would mean, safra would mean golden, and faqi is actually bright. So the reply is, innahu yaqulu innaha baqaratun safra. The Almighty says that the cow should be of golden color. Faqi'ul lawnuha. Faqi'un means bright. Lawn, again, color, ha. So her color should be bright. Tasurru an-nazirin. Tasurru means something which pleases. An-nazirin, people who look, the onlookers. So Moses says that God has said that since you have asked about the color of the cow, the answer is that it should be of golden color. And that golden should be very bright as well. And tasurru nazirin, she should be something that should please the onlookers. Tasurru is to please. An-nazirin, people who look. Qalu ud'u lana rabbaka yubayyin lana ma hi. So once again, they repeated that question. I mean, they had already asked this question. You can see this is the same question. Qalu, they asked once again. And what did they ask? Ud'u lana rabbaka yubayyin lana ma hi. Call for us Rabbaka, your Lord. Yubayyin, he may explain, lana, for us. Mahi, ma is what? He, of course, is here. When you stop at this word, you'll read it as here, as he. So mahi would mean, what is she? So once again, they said, call upon your Lord, O Moses, so that he could explain to us what sort of a cow he exactly wants. And then they said, Innal baqara tashabaha alayna. We are repeating this question while inna is indeed, al-baqar is cow. Tashabaha means ambiguous. Ha is her matter. Alayna, upon us. So innal baqara tashabaha alayna would mean that her matter has become ambiguous upon us or complex upon us. We're confused about her. Wa and inna, indeed we, in, if, sha'a, wants, Allah, God, lamuhtadun, guided. So they say that wa inna insha'Allah lamuhtadun. Indeed, if God wants, we shall be guided. So they repeated the question, and this time they added some more words to it and said that the matter of the cow is becoming ambiguous to us. And this time when you come with an answer, hopefully we shall be guided. And then once again, Moses must have asked God, and God replied to Moses, which Moses is now telling the Israelites, قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة لا ذلول تثير الأرض. So قال, Moses said, إنه, that indeed God, يقول, says, إنها بقرة, that cow, لا ذلول, should not be someone which works. Zalul means someone which has been tamed to work, to do work. Tusirul ard, which means, tusir means to plow. Al ard, the land. Wa and la, not. Tasqi means water. Al hars, the crops. So the meaning would be that the Almighty says that it should be a cow which should not be tamed, which should not be used for work. La zalulun tusirul ard, which actually plows the land or waters the crops. So it should neither be a cow which plows the land nor it waters the crops. Means it should be a cow which is just left alone and is not used for any sort of thing. Musallamatun la shayata fiha. Musallama means one color. La, not. Shayata means spot. Fiha, in it. So it should be of one color and there should be no spots in it. So you see, every question is making them more difficult, is offering them a more difficult proposition. So every question is making them, it's difficult for them. Already it is difficult to find a golden cow of bright color. Now what the additional questions have made that whole circle even tighten the noose around them is that it says that it should be of one color and there should not be a single spot in it. La shayata fiha. Qalu. Qalu means they. Al-an, now. Jitta, you have come. Bil haq, the truth. So they said, they said, now you have come up with the truth. Now we understand what you mean. فَزَبَحُوهَا, fa is therefore zabahu, they sacrificed or slaughtered, ha, the cow, wa, and ma, not, kadu, looked as yaf'alun, they would do it. So they slaughtered the cow, but they looked that they would not do it. And of course, this is a comment by the Almighty that because of these questions, it seemed that they were not entrusted in any way to slaughter the cow. They were trying to dilly-dally, they were trying to delay and postpone it. But ultimately, they got the answers and they sabahuha, they got down to slaughtering the cow, but it seemed as if they would not do it. وَإِذْ قَتَلْتُمْ نَفْسًا فَادَّارَأْتُمْ فِيهَا. Wa and is, recall, qataltum, you killed, nafsan, a soul, faddaratum would be started to blame one another, fiha, fi is in, ha, it. So that soul, remember, referring to the fact that recall when you people killed a soul, killed someone, and you started to blame one another about it. Faddaratum, they started to blame, fiha, about it. Wallahu, and God, mukhrijun, takes out. Ikhraj is, of course, something that is commonly used in Urdu as well. So mukhrijun, someone who takes out. Ma, what? Kuntum, you. Taktumun, you would hide. So kuntum taktumun is actually one word which gives this sense that you were concealing, or you wanted to conceal. So God wanted to reveal, or God wanted to bring out what you were concealing. Therefore, qulna, we said, idribuhu, strike it, biba'diha, with a part of that cow. Kazalika yuhyi Allahu al-mawta. Kazalika, in this way, yuhyi, brings to life, Allah, God, al-mawta, the dead. So, therefore, we said, idribuhu, strike that dead corpse. Who is that toward that dead corpse? Biba'diha. Vid is be, ba'd means part, ha is the cow. So strike that corpse with a part of that cow, referring to the fact that pick up a small portion of the meat of that cow and strike it on that dead person, and he's going to come to life. Kazalika, in this way, God brings people, in this way, God gives life to dead. Wa yurikum, and yurikum means he shows you. Ayatihi, ayat is the plural of ayat, which means signs. So he shows you his signs. He is his. Ayat, he means his signs. La'alla, so that kum, you, ta'qilun, you use your intellect, aql. So وَيُرِيكُمْ آيَاتِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ, and he shows you his signs so that you understand, so that you use your intellect. ثُمَّ قَسَتْ قُلُوبُكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ فَهِيَ كَالْحِجَارَةِ أَوْ أَشَدُّ قَسْوَةً. Summa, therefore, qasat, hardened, qulubukum, qulub is the plural of qalb, qulub, of course, qalb means heart, qulubukum would mean your heart. Summa qasat qulubukum min ba'di, after zalik, that, fa, therefore, here, that those hearts became, ka means like, hijara means stones. So the meaning would be, after that, your hearts hardened. Summa, after that, qasat, hardened, qulubukum, your hearts, min ba'di zalik, hijara, so they became like stones. Aw ashaddu qaswa, or even more hard. So even after this happened, when God forgave them and their attitude persisted like this, they became hard as stones, even worse. This is what is implied here. Because wa inna min al-hijarati lama yatafajjaru minhu al-anhar. Wa, and inna, indeed, min al-hijara, among the stones, la, are ma, those yatafajjaru minhu, sprout. Yatafajjaru means sprout. Minhu, min is from, who, from those. Al-anhar means fountains or canals. So it says that wa inna min al-hijarati lama yatafajjaru minhu al-anhar, that your hearts harden and they became harder than stones, because amongst the stones are also those which burst forth and water gushes out of them. So the implied meaning being that your hearts became even harder than stones, because even stones they at times crush and water comes out of it. For inna min hijarati lama yatafajjaru. Lama yatafajjaru means that they burst forth minhu al anhar, and what bursts forth for them is water. Wa, and inna, indeed, min, from, ha, again that, lama, lama is again that, from, yashaqqaqu, which means break, it rents apart, it breaks asunder. Fa, and yakhruju, comes out, minhu, from it, water, and water gushes forth from them. And there are some stones from which rivulets flow, and there are some from which water comes out. Wa inna minha lama yashaqqaqu, and amongst those stones are some which tear apart, which rent asunder, and water, yakhruju, comes out. Fa, therefore, minhu, from, who, that stone, alma, water. Wa inna minha lama yahbitu min khashyatillah. Wa, and inna, indeed, min, from, ha, from those hijara, from those stones. And so there are some from those stones, lama yahbitu, ma, that, la is just a particle of stress, which or emphasis, which comes with inna. So inna minna lama yahbitu min khashyatillah. Ma is what? Yahbitu means fall down. Min, from. Khashya means fear. Allah is God. So there are those stones among them which fall down with God's fear. I mean, they tumble down, they just fall down because of the fear of God. Wa, and mallahu, not. Ma is not. Allah is God. Be, again, something which comes on the particle of negation. It comes on, it is used with the particle of negation like ma. Ghafil is ignorant or not aware. Amma is anma, so it's about that. Ta'malun, you do. So God is not unaware. God is not unknown to what you do. So basically telling the Israelites that their hearts have hardened more than stones themselves, because these stones also, they break down, they tumble down, they rent asunder, and water gushes forth from them. But you are people whose hearts are even harder than that. So before I go on to the next part or the next verses, if there are any questions regarding these verses that I have just translated, please raise them now.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. And assalamu alaikum, sir, for another entertaining lecture. So, ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder that we will just talk about the topic at hand at this time, and one question at a time, please. Adil, you're ahead. Please go ahead.
Ji, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
Sir, about the ayah 66, where it says, where it starts from فَجَعَلْنَاهَا نَكَالًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهَا.
Right.
So فَجَعَلْنَاهَا, this word ha, you have referred to as that place or village or basti.
The city, right.
City. Where is that, Karina? There is no mention of any city even in the prior ayahs.
Right. Yeah. So you see, this is what happens in the Quran, that the noun itself is not mentioned, but the existence of that noun is something which transpires or emanates from the text itself. So you see, it says that this happened, whatever they did, it happened in some locus. So the locus is not mentioned. Whatever happened in that locus is mentioned, and that is that people in that city, they were turned into apes, or they were turned into monkeys. So, of course, this would mean that this happened somewhere. I mean, this couldn't have happened in the air. So, it is understood that wherever this happened is being referred to by the pronoun ha. And you'll find that the Quran uses this such pronouns in a way that it does not always mention the noun per se, but if the noun exists through karina or through some understanding, it will refer to it. So the karina here is that whatever happened because of their violation of the Sabbath law or the law of Sabbath would be this place where this whole incident took place. So basically, wherever that Sabbath violation took place is the city that is being referred to.
Right, because Maulana Maududi translates this as anjam. He refers to
Right.
this as anjam. That the outcome. He refers that the word ha refers to the outcome of these folks. Is that not a good
So you see,
translation?
for that you will have to find some more concomitant indication. I mean, ha is something which is a common pronoun for a settlement, for a qarya. So basically, it's the qarya which is being referred to here, and the whole incident occurred in a place, and that place is made an example. Otherwise, if you have to take it as a consequence or something which is the result, then I mean, it seems that you'll have to do some artificial, I would say, juggling of words in order to make it appropriate for the word consequence to be implied here.
Thank you very much. We don't have any further questions, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to go on. So we start now with verse 75. أَفَتَطْمَعُونَ أَن يُؤْمِنُوا لَكُمْ وَقَدْ كَانَ فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ يَسْمَعُونَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ. Is that is like a question. Therefore, fa is again a particle which means therefore tatma'una. Tatma'una means do you have greed? Do you expect? So afatatma'una would mean, so do you expect or do you have greed of that? That or of both could be implied here. Yu'minu, they will believe. Lakum, in you. Wa, whereas or and. Qad kana is like a past tense used. This happened or it was so. And what was so? Fariqum minhum. One fariq is group. Minhum is from among them. So do you expect them to believe in you? Afatatma'un means do you have greed that they will believe in you? An yu'minu lakum. Waqad kana. Whereas what has happened is fariqun, a group, minhum, from among them. Yasma'una kalam Allah. Yasma'un means they heard. Kalam, words, Allah, God. So the situation is that do you expect them to believe in you? Do you expect them, do you have greed that they'll have belief in you? Whereas the situation is that one group from among them used to listen or listen to the words of God. Summa, then, yuharrifunahu. Yuharrifu means to change. Yuharrifuna means to change. Who? That. So they would listen to the words of God, then they would change it. Yuharrifunahu. You've heard the word tahrif, which means to interpolate or to change. Min ba'di, after. Ma, what? Aqaluhu. Aqala means understand. Who? That. Wa, and. Hum, they. Ya'lamun, knew. So you see, what is being implied here is that do you have greed of the fact that they will believe in you? Whereas the situation is that a group from among them hears the words of God. They intently hear the words of God. But what do? Summa yuharrifunahu. They change them. They interpolate them. Min ba'di ma aqaluhu. After that, after the fact that they fully understand them. I mean, it's not that out of confusion that they change them. Min ba'di ma aqaluhu, after they have understood them. Wa hum ya'lamun. And they do it knowingly. They do it deliberately. Wa, and hum, they ya'lamun, they know it. So it's not out of any confusion or out of any lack of understanding. They deliberately change the word of God. They do tahrif in them. And they are very well aware of the fact that they have done this. Wa, and iza, when laqu, they meet allazina, those amanu, who believed. So wa iza laqul lazina amanu would mean, and when they meet those who believed, or in other words, and when they meet the believers, qalu, they say, amanna, we believed. Amanna, we believed. Wa, and iza, when khala means to meet privately. Ba'duhum, some of them, ila, towards, ba'din, some. So when they meet the believers, wa iza laqul lazina amanu qalu amanna. When they meet the believers, they say, we have believed. وَإِذَا خَلَا بَعْضُهُمْ, and when they meet in private, some of them towards some of them, of course, implying the fact that they meet one another. Now what do they say? قَالُوا, Atuhaddithunahum. Atuhaddithunahum would mean, do you say to them, do you narrate to them? So this that you see at the beginning is like a question. It's asking, would you? Tuhaddithunahum. Tuhaddisu means narrate, to say. This is the same word from which the word hadith is derived. Tuhaddithunahum. Do you say to them? Whom is them? Bima is what? Fataha, opened Allah, God, alaykum, to you. So when they meet each other in private, they say that, do you converse with them what God has opened to you, what God has actually made privy to you? And what will happen as a result? لِيُحَاجُّكُمْ بِهِ إِنْدَ رَبِّكُمْ. So that they will argue. يُحَاجُّكُمْ, they will argue with you. Kum is the same kum, with the plural addresses it is used. لِيُحَاجُّكُمْ, so that they will argue with you, bihi, about, inda, what? Rabbikum, is with your Lord. So do you narrate to them that which has been opened to you, or which God has informed you to you, liyuhajjukum bihi inda rabbikum, so that they can argue with you inda rabbikum, what is with God, and they would argue what is with what lies with God actually. Afala taqilun. Therefore, fa is again a particle of conjunction, which means therefore la, not taqilun. Use your aql, use your senses. So afala taqilun would mean, do you not use your senses? Do you not use your aql? Avala ya'lamuna anna Allah ya'lamu ma yusirruna wa ma yu'linun. Again is the same question. It's a particle of interrogation. So interrogative. It's used interrogatively. Would you? Wa and la, don't. Ya'lamun, no. So it's again from the word ilm. So do you not know, or do they not know? Avala ya'lamun would mean, do they not know? Anna, that Allah, God, ya'lamu, knows, ma, that yusirruna, they hide, wa, and ma, that they don't hide, or they express openly. So do they not know that God knows what they hide and what they reveal? So a more sequential translation would be, do they not know, avala ya'lamun, do they not know, anna Allah, that God, ya'lamu, knows, ma yusirruna, what they hide or what they conceal, wa ma yu'linun, and what they reveal. So again, pointing towards the all-embracing knowledge of God, that do they not know that God knows what they reveal and what they conceal? Everything is in God's knowledge. And then, wa minhum ummiyun, wa, and min, from, whom, them. Ummiyun means illiterate. La, not. Ya'lamuna, to know. Al-kitab means the book. So it would be, and amongst them are the illiterate who do not know the book. So wa minhum, and from among them, ummiyun, are the illiterate. La, not. Ya'lamuna, no. Al-kitab. So amongst them are the illiterate who do not know the kitab, who do not know the book. Illa, except amaniya. Amaniya is the plural of umniya, which means desires. So they do not know the book except as their desires. As this is a special style of Arabic in which something is implied in a way that you create an exception out of the general rule, that they regard the book to be their desires. So it would be literally, وَمِنْهُمْ أُمِّيُّونَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ الْكِتَابَ إِلَّا أَمَانِيَّ. They don't know the book except that it is of their desires. Literal meaning would be that. But of course, idiomatically, it would mean that they regard the book to be a collection of their desires. They think that whatever is their fancy, whatever they desire, the book is going to say that. So, لَا يَعْلَمُونَ الْكِتَابَ إِلَّا أَمَانِيَّ would mean that they don't regard the book except to consist of their desires. Illa amaniyya. Wa, and in, if in is actually is mukhaffafa, which means it's actually inna, and it has become in, and this happens in Arabic at times. Wa in hum illa yazunnun, and so that is illa amaniyya. Wa in hum illa yazunnun would mean, and they only act on their conjecture. So they don't act except on their conjecture. In fact, in here is nafiya, is of negation, and it means the same as ma of negation, which means and not illa yazunnun. Wa in hum illa yazunnun would mean and they are and not that except what they think. So inhum illa yazunnun would mean that whatever they think is an act of their own fancy, and they act only on their conjecture. For inhum illa yazunnun would mean that they don't except do what comes to their fancy. So inhum illa yazunnun. So therefore, wailun. Wailun means perdition, devastation. Lillazina, le for allazina, those yaktubuna, who write. Al-kitab, the book. Bi'aydihim, with their hands. So perdition or devastation for those who write the book from their own hands, referring to the fatwas that they would issue and they would write on behalf of God. And they would say, Summa yaquluna haza min indillah. And then, Summa is then. Yaqulun, they say, Haza, this, min, from, ind, from again, God. Allah is God. So after writing that fatwa from their own selves, or the book from their own selves, what would they say? Yaqulun haza min indillah. This is from God. So they would falsely ascribe what they themselves wrote to God. Summa yaquluna haza min indillah. And why would they do that? Liyashtaru bihi samanan qalila. Le, so that. Yashtaru, they buy. Be is a preposition with ishtara, which means liyashtaru be is one word. He, from that. Samanan is I mean, the word saman actually is the price of something. Qalil is a small. So that the idiomatic translation would be, then they say that this is from God so that they can buy, so that they can acquire a small price out of it. Of course, meaning that they gain something out of it, a very small price out of it. Therefore, wailun is the same word that occurred in the previous word, in the previous verse, which means perdition or devastation. Therefore, devastation, la, for whom, them, min, from ma, who, katabat, wrote, aydihim, their hands, wa, and wailun is the same word, destruction or devastation, lahum, for them, min, from ma, what, yaksibun, they earn. Yaksibun, they earn. So the translation would be, therefore, destruction, therefore, devastation for them. Mimma katabat aydihim. So what they wrote from their hands. So it's because of what they write from their hands. Min is because is here. Ma is what. So min is called causative here. Causative means giving the reason of something. So fawailul lahum mimma katabat aydihim would mean, so therefore, for them, because of what they write with their hands, is destruction. So an idiomatic translation would be that destruction is for them because of what they write from their hands. وَوَيْلُ لَهُمْ مِمَّا يَكْسِبُونَ, and destruction or devastation for them, mimma, from what, because of what they earn. Again, that they earn, which means that they write out of their own hands. So what they do is they issue a fatwa themselves, they issue an edict, and they say this is from God. And the response is that if you are ascribing something to God and you're doing it actually your own self, then this is going to win you destruction, this is going to destroy you, it's going to be a devastating thing on you. وَقَالُوا, wa. And now this is some of the examples of the fancies that were written earlier on. You see, it had been referred to that they regarded this book to be a bunch of their fancies. Whatever they think should be the case is what they thought that the book consists of. Now this is an example of that. Wa, and qalu, they said, lan, certainly not, tamassana, touch us. Tamassana is, tamassa is to touch, na is us. And they said, certainly not touch us, annar, the fire, illa, except, ayyam, ayyam is the plural of yawm, means days, ma'duda means a few. So, وَقَالُوا لَن تَمَسَّنَا النَّارُ إِلَّا أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودًا, and they said, certainly not will touch us the fire except for a few days. So idiomatically it would mean, and they said that the fire would not touch us except for a few days. وَقَالُوا لَن تَمَسَّنَا النَّارُ إِلَّا أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودًا. Qul, now say, I mean, this is what the Prophet is being told to tell them. Qul, attakhaztum, have you held, attakhaztum, inda, with Allah, God, ahdan, a promise. Falain. Falan again is the word same that has occurred earlier on. That fa, therefore, lan, certainly not. Yukhlifa, go back. Allah, God, ahdahu, on his promise. So, in idiomatic translation would be, say, have you acquired from God a promise so that he will not go back on his promise? Again, this is like a sarcasm being expressed to them, that have you held a promise? Have you taken a promise from God? Attakhastum, you have taken in the law with God, ahdan, a promise, falan, therefore certainly not, yukhlifallahu ahdahu, he will go back on his promise. So is it that you've made a promise from God, or you've taken a promise from God, and because you've taken a promise from God, he will not go back on that promise, he's going to honor that promise? Am taquluna ala Allahi ma la ta'lamun. So, or, I mean, is or. Taqulun, you say, ala, on, Allah, God, ma, what, la, not, ta'lamun, you know. So idiomatically it would mean, do you say upon God what you do not know? Which means that you ascribe to God, you attribute to God something that you don't know. Fala man kasaba. Now these are one of the most finest expressions of, I would say, not only sarcasm, but the way the Almighty expresses his anger and wrath. Bala man kasaba sayyatan wa ahatat bihi khati'atuhu fa ulaika ashabun nar. So bala means in fact, or why not? As we say, bala was why not. Man, he, kasaba, earned. Sayyi'a, a mistake or a sin. So bala man kasab would mean why not? Someone who earned a sin. Of course, this is a literal translation. An idiomatic translation would be why not? Someone who committed a sin. Earn a sin means committed a sin. Wa, and. Ahatat. Ahatat means to embrace. Bihi khati'atuhu. His mistake embraced him. Fa'ulaika. So therefore they. Ashab is the plural of sahib, means companions. An-nar is hell. So bala man kasaba sayyi'atan. Why not? Someone whose sins embraced them. Sins embraced them. Khatiya is our sins. Embrace them is bala man kasaba sayyatun wa ahata is ahata means to embrace, to engulf them from all sides, to surround them from all sides, or to encompass them from all sides. So a person who did a mistake, who committed a sin, and then made that sin a part of his life, and that sin encompassed his life would mean that it was not only just once that he committed that sin, he continued to do it day after day. So he made a mistake, he committed a sin, and then that sin became a part of his life. Bala man kasaba. Why not a person who commits a sin, and that sin then encompasses his life? It becomes a part and parcel of his life. فَأُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ. So therefore, they are companions of the fire. Such people are companions of the fire. Whom they, fi, in, ha, it, khalidun, forever. Hum fiha khalidun would mean they will stay in it forever. Wa, and allazina, they who, amanu, believed, wa, and amilu, did, as-salihat, good deeds. Ulaika, they, ashab, companions, al-jannah, paradise. So literally it would mean, and those who believed and did righteous deeds, they are the companions of paradise. And idiomatically also we would translate it as, and those who believed and did righteous deeds, they are the companions of paradise. Ulaika ashabul jannah, whom they, fi, in, ha, it, khalidun, forever. And they will remain in it forever. So remember, this is occurring in parallel to the previous verse. The previous verse said, فَأُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ. For people who commit sins and then that those sins become a part and parcel of their lives, such people are going to stay in hell forever. On the other hand, those who believed and they did righteous deeds, أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ. They are companions of paradise. Hum fiha khalidun. You see, exactly the same words have been repeated. And they shall stay in paradise forever. So they will stay in hell forever, and these will stay in paradise forever. So this brings us to an end to the session or the part of the Quran that we started last time. As I said that we have a small missing part in our previous session as well. I'm going to read that out also. But before we go on to that, If we have questions for the verses that I have just read from 73 to 82, please raise them now.
Thank you very much, sir. Imran, you're ahead. Please go.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Shehzad. Thank you very much again for wonderful translation. The verse 76, which says, وَإِذَا لَقُوا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَالُوا آمَنَّا. So it makes sense in the beginning that when they meet each other, in privacy or, in khalaw, they say to each other. But now when it says قَالُوا أَتُحَدِّثُونَهُمْ, so I'm just trying to say, are they telling each other or who's telling who? And then again it says,
yes, they are telling each other. Yeah. So you see, the first part is that when they meet the believers, they give them this deception. They deceive them by saying that we have believed. So remember, this is something which is mentioned in the earlier part of Surah Baqarah. They would say that we have believed in God and the last day, and as Prophet Muhammad being the prophet for the Muslims. So they would give this false impression that they have believed in Prophet Muhammad, not as a prophet for themselves, but as a prophet for Muslims. So they are being told that when you say that you have believed, so when they come back to each other, some of them would ask, well, you have gone to them and said that they believe in Prophet Muhammad. How come this is the fact? How come you would justify that? Something that is known to you is now being disclosed to the believers. So they come back to each other, they tell each other that you are telling something to them which God has opened to you. And if you tell them that you have believed, then this will give them an excuse that when they meet God, they will tell them, or they will tell God that, look here, when they came to us, they said they have believed in Prophet Muhammad. But actually they have not believed. So you see, when they go back to their own brethren, those brethren are rebuking them that you have gone to the Muslims and you've told them that we believe in Prophet Muhammad, we have not believed in Prophet Muhammad. And this would give them this excuse. This would give them this legitimate pretext that when they meet God, they will tell God that, look here, when they came to us, they said that they profess faith in Prophet Muhammad, but actually they did not. So this is like having two faces. They say something different to the believers, and when they would come back and when they would be rebuked, they said, well, if you're going to say these words to the Muslims, they are going to use these words against you when they meet God.
I see. Okay, so one part of the Jews are reminding the others that because this has been clarified by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to you, that the Muslims can use it as a hajjah or hujjah in front of God.
A dispute, as a matter of, in their own favor, because you have gone to them and said, well, we believed. Whereas you were giving them this deception that you have actually believed that Muhammad is a prophet for them, not for your own selves. So they say that, well, you are using these words in a way that Muslims can easily make them mean that, well, they have believed in Prophet Muhammad. And if they have believed in Prophet Muhammad, then of course, how can you deny that? And God is going to take you to task for that. The fact is that you not believed in him. So you're presenting something to the Muslims, which they can use against you when the Muslims meet God.
So that's what liyuhajjukum means, that they, which is Muslims can argue with you in the Rabbikum. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. This makes more sense now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Sattar. Sattar, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saleem.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yeah, so I think I have two questions. So first one is the ayat in which you were saying that people give fatwas and they get the fatwas as if they're like 100% certain it's directly from God. So with respect to that, so even if like somebody who's like very knowledgeable, a mufti or whatever, if he gives a fatwa, then I mean, it's with regards to that verse, it's always important for him to say that, hey, this is just my opinion, and
it's my understanding.
Okay, but like if he's saying something along the lines that, no, I'm 100% right, and there is like a difference of opinion out there somewhere by like someone who's also qualified, then in that case, then that particular individual would be at fault. Then
you see, here the context is totally different. What they would do is they would write something for the commoners when they would ask them, and the answer that they would give would not be, clarified as an answer given by them. They would say that this is the answer that God's book says. So, summa yaquluna haza min indillah, which means that they would write something from their own hands. I mean, write an answer to their question. And then instead of saying that this is my answer to your question, they would say that this is God's answer to your question. So this has a very particular context. And this is one of the gravest, charge sheets. I mean, one of the gravest things that the Quran has raised against them as a charge sheet, that instead of saying that, well, this is my opinion that about a matter that you ask, they would attribute it to God. And thereby they would incorporate this extra force in the fatwa. I mean, if someone tells you this is from God, of course it's going to carry that emphatic ring in it. So this is what they did, that they did something on their own part. They authored the judgment for themselves, and then they would not clarify that the judgment is from themselves. They would say this is what the book of God has said. So they would actually ascribe those words to God himself.
Oh, okay. So, and having said that, that this also applies to matters where, the Quran and Sunnah is not clear cut on anything then.
Actually,
like
you see, it's slightly different here. Once again, if you study the Jewish history, you'll know that the Torah or the religious books, they were kept by the Jewish scholars. They were not given to the commoners. Okay. They would be recited by the scholars before the commoners or the common man. And whatever part they would feel is worth reciting, they would recite. And that is why the Quran has said that you reveal a part of it and you conceal a part of it. So basically, the Torah was was under the jurisdiction of the scholars of the Jews, and they would recite it out. So when they would recite out a certain part of the Torah, without telling them that this is actually their own opinion, they would say that this is Torah per se. This is Torah itself. So this is one of the crimes of the Jewish scholars, which is being presented here.
Okay, I understand. And then my second question is with the whole, the concept where, they think that the fire will not touch them for a few days, and then Allah Ta'ala responds by saying that they will burn in there forever. So, like, from like a general perspective, like if somebody is like hellbound, like he has 51 bad deeds and 50 good deeds, and so, I know there's like there's scholars out there who say that, koi gunjaish hai ke he'll be transferred after, fulfilling his sentence in hell to Jannah.
I understand. I mean, this is slightly different here. So that is that if a person has he's done normal good deeds and he's done sort of normal bad deeds, and then the count is whatever whatever the balance shifts towards or it tilts towards would be counted as the final say. Here is something else. It is said that if you say that the fire is going to touch you for a few days, then you should show some clear evidence for that. Because if you think that the fire is going to touch you for just a few days, then is it that God has given you this promise that it's just going to harm you for a few days? If that is not the case, then you are telling a lie towards God. And one more thing that you should notice, or you should note here, this is what the Quran is telling them, is that if you do a small sin and you keep repeating that sin again and again, it becomes a big mistake, it becomes a big folly, and then you'll end up in hellfire forever. So this is a very special category of people which is being mentioned here. It's not those normal category of people who do good and bad deeds, and at times the bad deeds outnumber the good ones, or the good ones might outnumber the bad ones. So that would be decided on the scales on the day of judgment. But this is a very special case here, that when a person starts to do a bad deed, it could be a very small bad deed, but then such is his life that he repeats that over and over again, and it embraces his life. So you see, the words are ahatat bihi khatiyatuhu, that sin embraces the life of that person, and he keeps on doing it day after day. Then there is no forgiveness for such person. So this is not a normal case of good and bad deeds being weighed, and the ones which outweigh the other ones are going to be treated the way they should be treated. So this is a very special case.
Okay. And last thing, so the whole thing of, repeating a minor sin over and over again and such that it becomes like a very big one. So does that mean that, you keep repeating a minor sin such that it leads you to like a bigger one, or like just repeating like a very trivial minor sin?
No, actually, it refers to that minor sin. Whether you are led to a major sin or not, that is not a question. That is not the question here. It is that minor sin has become a part and parcel of your life, and it has embraced your life from all sides. You are engrossed in it day in and day out, and night and day. You're indulging in that. So that small thing, which could have been forgiven had it been done a couple of times, but what you have done is you have made it a part of your life. You're doing it repeatedly, all the time. So this is something which is unforgivable in the sight of God.
Okay, and even for minor sins, and what if you keep asking for forgiveness even for the minor sins done like regularly?
So that is a separate thing. I mean, if you do those minor sins, and every time you realize that you've done a minor sin, you repent and you come out of it, and then once again you fall back into it. That's an entirely different scenario. And for that, of course, we find that God says that if you do something in emotional frenzy, and you repent immediately after that, when you come out of the frenzy, God says that it is incumbent upon him that he's going to forgive that person. So that is an entirely different scenario. And that is a person does something small and then does it again and then does it again and then seeks repentance again and again. Of course, for that, God says that he's going to forgive such a person. But here we have a scenario in which a person is not, he's not asking for forgiveness. Sin has become a part of his life. Although it's a very small sin, but it has become a permanent part of his life. And there's no question of asking for any forgiveness. He's just repeatedly doing that.
Okay, and he's lost like all awareness of like God and the Khuda. Okay. All clear. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next question is from Riaz. Riaz Sahab, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Sahab.
Wa alaikum salam.
Dr. Sahab, it's saying Rabbuka Musa. So did the Bani Israel, they thought the Rabb of Musa is different than their own Rabb?
No, it's just like a sarcasm. When you say, well, ask your God. Of course, the God was the same, but it's like being sarcastic. It's like showing that cunningness in you, in which you say, okay, if you're very close to your God, why don't you go and ask your God? So the way we do at times, we pass those sarcastic remarks. The Israelites very well knew that God is one and it is God of everyone. But this is like just trying to harass Moses or just trying to make fun of him and saying, well, you find yourself very close to God. You are a favored messenger of God. So why don't you go and ask your God that please give us this manna or salwa, or we would like the cucumbers and the garlic that we had in Egypt. Remember, the history is being told to them. So every time that they ask this question, they would make it a point not to say our God. They would say your God. God of Moses. Again, the purpose is to tease him and to have that sarcasm, the ring of sarcasm in it.
Do the present day Jews or the Christians, but they say that Muslim God is different? Is it same thing? Or
they don't. The Abrahamic religions, they all agree on one God.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We don't have any more raised hands and no question in the chat. However, there was...
Now, I'm going to just translate, because I missed out, this has been pointed out by our technical team, that in our 12th lecture, this literal translation, the slide that is being displayed before you on the screen, its translation was missed out. So just to keep the record straight and so that we can insert it as well, I'm just going to read out that literal translation of the part which is now being displayed before you. So this is verses 58, 59, and 60. Okay. Wa and is, recall. Qulna, we said. Udkhulu, enter you. Hazihi, this. Al-Qarya, city. So recall when we said to you, enter this city. Fa, therefore, kulu, eat. Min, from. Ha, it. Haythu, wherever. Shi, you. Wherever shi'tum would mean you want, ragadan with relish. So the translation or the idiomatic translation would be, and recall when we said to you that enter this city and eat from it wherever you want. Haysu shi'tum, haysu is wherever. Shi'tum, you want. Ragada, with relish, to your heart's content. Wa, and udkhulu, enter. Al-bab, the gate. Sujjada, while bending your head. Sujjada, as we have explained earlier on, the word sajda not only refers to that complete posture of prostration, but also to that slant of the head or the bending of the head also. Wa, and qulu, say, hettatun, brush away. And of course, referring to the fact, brush away our sins. Naghfir lakum, naghfiru, we shall forgive. Lakum, yours. Khatayakum, your sins. So what they are being told is, the Israelites are being told that you enter the city in a state of bending your head. You should just bow your head. Your head should be bent, and you should say, hittatun, forgive our sins. Naghfir lakum, so we will forgive your sins. If you ask forgiveness, we will do that. Naghfir lakum khatayakum, we of course referring to God himself, we shall forgive your sins. And then wasanazidul muhsinin, sa is soon. Nazido means increase. Al muhsinin, people who are thorough. So the literal translation would be, soon we shall increase the thorough. This is a literal translation. But of course, an idiomatic translation would be, soon we shall reward the thorough even more. We shall increase the people who are thorough, which means that we will increase the reward of the people who are thorough. So, وَسَنَزِيدُ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. For, therefore, baddala, they changed. Allazina, they. Baddala means to change, and allazina means they. Zalamu means to oppress. Who oppress their badalila zalamu, of course, would mean who oppress their souls, who wrong their souls. Qawlan means what was said, the word. Qawl, the word hitta, referring to the fact that hitta word was changed. Ghaira, that was other. Allazi, that qila said, lahum, to them. So a literal translation would be that they changed, they who were oppressive, فَبَدَّلَ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا, so they changed who were oppressive that word with something which was said to them. So they changed the word which was said to them with some other word. فَبَدَّلَ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا قَوْلًا غَيْرَ الَّذِي قِيلَ لَهُمْ. They changed the word which was said to them by another word. So literally, فَبَدَّلَ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا قَوْلًا, the people who had wronged their souls, they changed the word with another word that was told to them. فَأَنزَلْنَا, therefore, أَنزَلْنَا, we revealed, عَلَى, on, الَّذِينَ, they, ظَلَمُوا, were oppressive, ridzan is punishment, min, from, as-sama, heavens or the sky, be, because, ma, what, kanu, they did, yafsukun, disobedient. So the idiomatic translation would be, so therefore we sent down, we revealed on them. Of course, revelation is not the correct word here. It would be, we sent down on people who had wronged their souls, people who were oppressive, people who were unjust. What did we send down? Ridzan, a punishment, minas sama, from the heavens, bima kanu yafsukun, because they were disobedient, because they were defiant. So as a result of changing the word that we had said to them, because they changed it to some other word, as a retribution to that, what did we do? We sent down, fa anzalna, ala, on, allazina, they who, zalamu, wronged their souls or they were oppressive. Zulm is the same word that we know commonly. Ridzan is punishment. Minasama, from the heavens. Bima, because. Ma kanu yafsukun is like a single expression. Because of their defiance. Because of their disobedience. Wa, and, is, recall. Istasqa. Istasqa means to call for water. To request for water, to request water. Musa, Moses, le, for, qawmihi, his nation. So an idiomatic translation would be, and recall when Moses asked for water for his nation. Istasqa means to ask for water. Is, recall. Musa is Moses, le, for, qawm is nation, he is his. So recall when Moses asked for water for his nation. In other words, he prayed to God to provide them with water. And that is precisely why whenever we need water or whenever we need rain, we pray to God, and that prayer is called the prayer of istisqa. So it's from the same word. The namaz istisqa is exactly a derivative of this word. Istisqa means to ask for water, to pray to God for water. When you ask for water, of course, you don't ask it from some person, you ask from God. So is istisqa Musa liqawmihi would mean, and recall when Moses asked for water for his nation. The word God is not mentioned here, but of course, when you ask for water in the form of rain, only God is being asked here. So that is implied here. وَإِذِ Musa liqawmihi. So recall when Moses asked for water for his nation, the implication being from God. فَقُلْنَا إِذْرِبْ بِعَصَاكَ الْحَجْرِ. فَقُلْنَا, fa is therefore, qulna, we said. God is now talking. Fa, therefore, qulna, we means God. We said, idrib, strike, bi'asaka, with your staff, with your rod. Asa is rod, ka is your. Strike with your rod. What do you strike? Al-hajar, this stone, this rock. You strike your staff, you strike your rod, you strike it with, you strike it upon the rock. You just do that. Fa in fajarat, read as fan fajarat. Fa, therefore, in fajarat, come out, discharge. Minhu, from who? It. Isnata ashara, 12. Isna ashara means 12. This is the Arabic numeral which tells us 12. Aina is fountains. So the implication is that, remember or recall when Moses requested God for water. In reply, we said, and God is saying, we said, Moses, strike your rod on that rock. Hit it like that. In fajarat minhu. So therefore, will come out from this rock. What will come out? 12 fountains. So because Israelites had those 12 tribes, and of course, the biggest contention that takes place between tribes is regarding water. So the Almighty, very wisely, He did not provide one fountain, He provided 12 of them. So He asked Moses to strike the rock with his rod, with his staff, and then emerge from that rock. What emerged? Those 12 fountains, those 12 streams. Qad alima kullu unasim mashrabahum. Qad is therefore, alima, knew, kullu, every, unas, people, mashrabahum. Mashrab is place of drinking. Him is theirs. So each of the groups, they knew their place of drinking. It was known to them. Again, referring to the fact that because of the fact there were 12 tribes and there were 12 gushing fountains, so each of those tribes now could demarcate that this fountain belongs to us. Qad alima kullu unasim mashrabahum would mean that each of those tribes knew their place of drinking. They knew where to go. Kulu washrabu min rizqillah. Kulu means eat. Wa, and. Ishrabu, also pronounced when we read it in a fluent way, washrabu. So kulu washrabu would mean drink, eat and drink. Min, from, rizq, sustenance, Allah, God. So eat and drink from God's sustenance. Kulu, eat, wa, and ishrabu, drink. Min, from, rizq is just sustenance, Allah, God. So eat and drink from God's sustenance. Wa, and la, not. Ta'saw, begin spreading or spread. Fi, in. Al-ard is land, earth. Mufsideen, mufsideen is disorder, people who bring disorder. So idiomatically it would mean, and do not be those who go about spreading disorder in the land. So eat and drink from God, from the sustenance of God, and do not be among those who spread disorder in the land. So this, as I said, was a part that was left out from one of our previous sessions. We have just inserted it here so that it can be once again put back there. And if you have any questions, regarding this part or any other question, this is the time to raise it. Otherwise, inshallah, we'll see each other next week.
Thank you very much, sir. Imran, you have the next question. Please go ahead.
Dr. Shehzad, I have just a quick question about when the Israelites were entering the blessed land. They were asked to, not only submit and do sajda, but hitta is the word, like you mentioned, they were asked to use it, right? And but then Quran said they changed it to another word. Do we know what they changed it to, and why would they change it? Like, because you would think that normally any sane person would just ask God for forgiveness and be thankful, right?
This was out of their arrogance. You see, that arrogance was always there. That defines for Moses arrogance against God. If you read the Bible, you'll find this phrase being repeated over and over again, that you are a stiff-necked people. You are a stiff-necked people. So the stiff-necked people is a term which the Bible uses, or the Old Testament uses again and again, implying the fact that you are arrogant people. You are very haughty. You are full of your own selves. You just think too much of your own selves. So basically, instead of being humble and asking for forgiveness, they changed it to some other word and said, we don't need forgiveness, because after all, we are chosen ones of God. And even if the fire is going to touch us, it's just going to be for a few days. So it was that attitude that they have, that they had, that they never even thought it was something of a befitting nature to ask for God's forgiveness.
I see. What was the punishment? It says, of course, they were humiliated.
We don't find any details. All that it says is rizqan min as-sama. It says we sent down a punishment. I mean, it could be lightning, or it could have been thunder. It could have been something from the heavens.
Thank you very much.
Isabel, please go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so my question is right now, not about the passage that we read.
Okay.
It is about the order of marriage, the permission to marry the Ahli Kitab or not, about the dispute.
Right.
So when the Quran refers about to the men to marry the women of Ahli Kitab, obviously it's not a recommendation over the Muslim women, but it was according to the time, the circumstance. But my question is that in the general rule, now if we see and if anyone is permitted to marry from the Ahli Kitab, why is it just man and not a woman? So I have 3 points here. The first point is that in the past times, as in the time of the Prophet, it was really patriarchal family, and the religion of father mattered a lot. Now in this time, it is more of the religion, there is the influence of mother on a child. As I know many Jewish people who, especially I had a close friend, and her father was a Zionist. Her whole family was Zionist, but her mother turned into a Messianic. And she was Messianic, no matter how hard her parents forced her to be a Zionist. From inside, she always was a believer of Jesus. So if it depends, it's for the sake of the child's religion, then we see this point clear. Then the second point is that sometimes in the Quran, as some scholars say that only the male is mentioned over here.
Right.
But there are two rules that sometimes one partner is told and the rest are assumed. For example, or when we talk about the foster mother, then that she is just like the mother of the child who she has fed. So we assume that even her daughter will be like the sister and her sister will be like the aunt. Now the third point is that when Allah talks about presenting Adam to the creation, to the giants and the angels, Allah talks about the angels because that was a dominant group over there, even in their ibadat, in their rutbah and everything. So why can't we apply these rules and assume that it was also for a woman? And if it's not, then is God being biased or something?
Okay, so you see the important aspect here is that you have to understand that even from the women of the people of the book, the Almighty is not encouraging to marry them. And why do I say so? If you look up the verse, you'll find that it starts off with this verse, Al-Yawma ya'isal lazina kafaru, or Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. So these verses were revealed at the time when religion had become dominant in the land of Arabia. And on such occasions, if allowance was made to marry among the people of the book, and especially their women, they would be living under the strong traditions of the Muslims, and they would be virtually subservient to those traditions. And in spite of believing Jesus to be the Son of God, as of course Christians do, they would not in all probability have been in a position to implement them these things in their own family because of living in a dominant society of the believers. So basically this permission given to the believers regarding the people of the book is not a general permission. I mean, it's not a general or a blanket permission even for women. Even for women, it was given at a time when Arabia had been conquered, whole of Arabia had been conquered, and the Almighty said, now that Islam is dominant, now that this religion is dominant, now you're allowed to marry from among the people of the book, and that to women. So the first point that has to be understood is that it's not a blanket permission for even the women. Even for the women, it's not a blanket permission. Even for them, it is a permission in which, or in a place or in a land in which the traditions of Islam, they hold sway. And it would be in all probability that if you marry from amongst the people of the book, a woman from among them, there are very high chances that she would convert herself, or if she would not convert, then she would be living under those dominant traditions. One thing. The other important thing is that, as you rightly pointed out, that there is this patriarchal ring in the society, or the I would say the family structure which Islam envisages. So basically, in Islam, the prescribed family structure is that the husband is the head of the family, and being the head of the family, I mean, as a dominant person in the head of the family, his traditions or his own notions would have a very strong effect. So therefore, it is because of this notion that, because, I mean, it's not always patriarchy. It was because a husband is going to be the head, no matter what comes to that patriarchy, even if the patriarchal traditions are done away with, as has been the case in many societies. Even then, that dominance, or position of dominance, still remains, because the system of family, which is prescribed by religion or by Islam, is the one in which the husband is always the head of the family, as per the verse, "Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa." So therefore, in this position of dominance, or in this position of being the head of the family, it was not deemed appropriate that allowance be made for the people of the book, or for women of the people of the book, that they should marry. I mean, for men, it would be something that if they marry the men amongst them, they marry the men amongst the people of the book, then of course that would be something in which they would be marrying into a family whose head is a person who is not believing in the same values or the same system which the Quran envisages. So these are the two points that you need to consider. One, the permission for even women is not a blanket permission. It's only in those areas, analogously, in which Islam holds sway. And I don't find any society today, to be honest, where this is the case, that Islam is the dominant religion. Because, I mean, we have that dominance by name only, but in the society, we don't find that dominance. So it's not even permission for women. But now the next step is, let's suppose that there is a society in which women are allowed, I mean, the people of the book, women from them are allowed, because this dominance is there. For such a society, men are not allowed to be married, because, as I said, society structure which is envisioned by Islam is the one in which the men or the husband always holds the position of the head of the family. So being the head of the family, of course, would have an entirely different effect on the family itself. And that is why men from among the people of the book have not been allowed.
So my counter question was, as you said that family structure, your second point, means a lot. So in contrary to the Islamic family structure, it happens in the Jewish that the religion is transferred from the mother, that even if the whole family is a Jewish and aware of rabbis or prophets, but the mother is non-Jewish, and the child will never be considered a Jew. So even in that case, what do you say?
You see, these are their traditions. So if the mother will be transferred from the mother, this is not the case in Islam. And when a woman marries with a person who belongs to the people of the book, for example, the husband belongs to the Jewish or the Christian community, he is going to be treated as the head of the family. Whether he does so amongst themselves is a separate thing. But the system which religion, which Islam or the Quran prescribes, is the one in which the person will be married into that family, and the person that she's going to marry, he will be invested with the position of the head of the family. So it's regardless what they believe, because that is what happened when both husband and wife are Jews or Christian, I mean, of the same religion. But when a Muslim woman is going to be Jews, then you have to decide who is going to be the head of the family. So the verdict which is given by religion or by the Quran is that the husband, regardless of his religion, is going to be the head of the family, because on him is the responsibility to earn for the family. And for him, it's more suitable psychologically and physiologically to be in this position. We've already discussed that in some of our other sessions. So basically, the role is given to the husband, regardless of his religion.
My apologies, Dr. Shehzad Saleem. We have a lot of audio disruption. We couldn't hear everything. But nevertheless, we are running out of time. And thank you so much for your wonderful knowledge and information that you've given us. And inshallah, we'll meet again.